Hello everyone, welcome to .NET Mirror channel. Today let's understand how to configure app settings in Azure App Service. This is very similar to Azure Functions as well, but we will focus on Azure App Service. In this video, we will look at what is app settings. We will try to create a basic ASP.NET Core web application with app settings and run the local demo. And we will try to put same settings in Azure App Service and see the same demo on Azure Cloud, how it works. Make sure that you have Azure Studio IDE or any other IDE, Azure account, little bit knowledge on ASP.NET, C Sharp, and Azure, and knowledge to deploy your web application to Azure App Service. What is an app settings? Basically, app setting allows you to customize your application behavior without changing the code. Like on environment specific configurations, right? You can have connection strings. You can define any kind of variables which can be different for each environment, and also it provides a lot of flexibility during your development and deployment time, where you can go and switch between the values for your settings in development or production environments. And you can go and define something like unit preferences, like I can put like celsius, I can, or else I can map to fahrenheit in the application. In that way you can go and map your settings for each environment, and in any time you can change it. If you look at the example, so I create an external services app setting key. Inside that I have one more setting called api base url. It is connecting to api.example.com, and I have a connection string which is my local version. Whenever I go and deploy to development environment or production environment, you can have your own API based different URL for each environment. You can have a different connection string for each environment. While creating any app settings, these are some default rules you can consider. Always, whenever you are passing values to app setting, these will go as a variable to your application code. When you are creating a app setting, make sure that it contain letters, numbers, dot, and underscore. And if you are a ASP.NET or ASP.NET Core developer, any settings locally which you deployed in web config or appsettings.json will goes to app settings and app service. And whatever the values you put locally in web config or app settings, when you deploy it, but when you go and override the same values in Azure App Service, always Azure App Service take precedence than your local web config or app settings in the code. App settings always are secure, and you can easily store all your secrets like passwords very safely into app settings. And make sure that when you deploy your application, when you're going to add or update any kind of an app setting, it will restart your Azure App Service. If your application is a production grade application, make sure that you're trying to pick up a right choice in terms of your deployment. App settings are always stored in encrypted, very safe, and always when the data is passing, right, it's secured at rest. Also, you can define connection strings as well in app settings. Again, if you're a .NET developer, right, anything a connection string which you defined in web config can go to connection string within app settings. If you're a non .NET developer like Node or Python developer, right, when you want to read these settings in your code as an environment variables, always prefix with, like if it is SQL Server, prefix with SQL const string, like that. Each kind of uh, type will have its own prefix. Make sure that you're referring MSD and document and take it. For example, if you're defining a SQL connection string with default connection, in your code you should refer SQL const string underscore default connection. What are the ways to add or update settings? You can do via CLI, you can do via Azure Portal, PowerShell, and the other ways, like you can, if you want to edit multiple things, you can go to the Azure Portal. You can do a bulk edit as well. Now let's look at the demo. I created one Azure App Service, a free account. Let me go there. And if you look at here, I created one app service under a free plan. I created If you see here, it's a free plan. I created a end-to-end video how to create an Azure App Service. You can refer that. I will provide the link in the description. So this is my Azure App Service. Now let's go and create an application locally. So I'm going to create ASP.NET Core Web App. So let me take maybe MVC application is fine. Let's go there. Let's call it as Azure App Settings demo. I will pick up as .NET 8. I will not change anything. Yeah, now the application is created. We will go to the controllers. Sorry, we'll go to the views and we will open the home page. First, let's run the application. Yeah, my basic app is working. I have a home page and I have a privacy page. What I will do is I'll go to home page and let's try to put an app setting and read that value. So let's go here. Let's go to the home page. To read an app setting, you have to use this configuration namespace and you have to inject this I configuration. Now let me go and define the app setting value in appsetting.json. Let's go to our demo deck. Let's take this app setting value. Now let's try to read this value. So now I'm trying to read the API base URL which I'm have defined here. So let me call it as maybe local.api.example. Let's save this. Now similarly we will define a connection string as well. Let's go here. Let's put in the app setting. So to read this connection string, let me go to my controller. So let's define this and let's inject this I configuration. Now in my index, let's read this connection string. Yeah. Now if you try to see here, I'm trying to inject my I configuration. Once that is available, I'm trying to get my connection string from app settings, which is default connection, and I'm trying to assign that to my view bag in my connection string. If I go to index.html, I'm trying to put my connection string. Please, this is I'm doing only for my demo purpose. You should not put a connection string of your value into your code. Make sure that it is secured. For demo purpose, I'm trying to do it, but don't do it when you're trying to implement the applications. Now let's run this app. Yeah, now when you see this, right, so whatever the value which I have in my app settings API base URL, I'm able to see that. Whatever the connection string I have defined, I'm able to see that now. So in this local, I'm able to see my one of the app setting and one of the connection string. Now we will go and deploy this application in Azure. So as I already connected to DNM demo app settings, so let me deploy here. So before I mean, if you're using publish profile, right, make sure that you go to the configurations. Make sure that you enable the basic authentication which I enabled previously, but make sure that you enable this basic auth is available to deploy. So let me go here. Let me stop the application. Let me go to the solution, right click and publish, and let's connect to the Azure. I'm trying to put Azure App Service Windows. So this is already connected to my account. It will try to list the available app services. So I have two. I'll select the second one which I created newly. Yeah, now let's deploy this. Yeah, now this is ready to publish. And also if you look at here, because we made one connection string, right? So it is trying to see there is a service dependency on SQL Server. But yeah, I will not validate this, but let me go and publish this. If you see here, our app is deployed. So let's go and browse this. Now, if you see here, our application is deployed, and you can see our local whatever we defined is available here. Now, let's go and update these two values in Azure App Settings. So as of now, it is taking the local variables whatever we passed. Now, let's go here. In order to go and update your app settings, go here in the environment variables, go to the app settings. You can click on add. Let's take the value. So here it is defined as a grouping. So if there are like nested groupings, so you have to go and give it like external services. You have to give a colon, then you have to give an API base URL. If there is further grouping, you can keep giving the colon. With that way, it becomes easy. Now here, what I will do is instead of local, I'll say, let's assume this is our dev environment. So one second. Let me, yeah, so let me, instead of local, I'll say Azure Dev. Then there is one option called deployment slot settings, and if you enable that, which means that this set whenever you are doing for a deployment slot swapping, these settings will not copy to the other slot. Let's say if you have a connection string related to production, if you enable this, right, that connection string will not be swapped whenever you do deployment slots. I'll not select this. Let's apply this. So in this way, you can add as many as possible all the settings. Let me, now we have done with the app settings. Now let's go to the connection string. It says unsaved changes. Let me save this. So now it says your app will be refreshed. So now successfully update the app settings. Now let's go to the connection strings. Now let's add a connection string. So let me get the default connection name. I will get the value as same. Instead of local, I'll say maybe here also Azure Dev Server. But here you can get whatever the server you want to connect. So let me put the value. The type I will select as SQL. Let's apply this. It says now your app may restart if you're updating connection string or if you want to continue. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, now our app setting is updated, our connection string is updated. Now let's go and refresh our web application. Yeah, now if you see here, previously it was referring to the local api.example.com, and yeah, if I do a control Z here, these are our local settings. But on Azure, we put Azure Dev here, Azure Dev Server. Now these are got updated, which means that always Azure App Service settings takes precedence than your local. So in this way, you can go and add as much as possible app settings which are available in web config or app setting.json. All connection strings you can go and map over here. And other than these environment variables, there are a few other app settings which are available in configurations. Things like default documents which you want to load, the error pages you want to map, all these things, right, you can go and map in configuration as well. These are also related to the application settings. Now with this, we are done with a demo where we have seen the local version, and also we have seen the Azure version. So let me just run the local version again. So this is our, yeah, this is our local version. If I put side by side, okay, so it got stopped. Let me start again. Yeah, so if you see here, this is our local version, which is referring to local.api, local DB. But if you go to the Azure version, it is referring to the Azure App Settings. Yeah, with this, we are done with the demo, both local plus Azure. In this way, you can use your app settings in your applications. Let's go to the PPT. Let's get into the slide mode. Yeah, I will try to give. This is one of the Azure MSDN. Everything is available similar whatever I have provided. But let's say if you want to update from the portal, as I mentioned, you can go to the variables and do app settings. If you are doing an Azure CLI, you can write your own Azure CLI commands to go and update the app settings. You can write PowerShell as well. And even if it is a bulk edit, it is not possible in PowerShell and CLI. You can do it, but PowerShell is not available. Azure Portal. Okay, let me show that bulk update as well. If you go to your Azure, let's say if you have, let's say I add one more setting, let's say key one, let's say value one. So always the values are not visible by default. You can uh, let me save this. And if you want to see the values, just say show value so that you can see the value. And if you want to do a bulk edit, use this option called advanced edit. There you can go and do a bulk edit of if you have more than one app settings. With this, we are done with the demo and all. Let me go back. I have put a reference article as well. I will put it in the description. I have written a article on this. You can refer that as well. And thanks for watching the video. Please, if you like the video, give a like button, share with your friends, and click on the bell icon to get my videos updates regularly. Thanks for watching.